Mike Cohen and Steve Delia. They are dueling. I'm sorry? Delia. All right, so Delia. They are dueling poets. They are dueling. So they are facing off again. These two eloquent hombres have been performing poetry in tandem at bookstores and cafes and libraries for over a decade. They shoot from the hip, firing away with a big bang and a ricochet. The ammunition is verbal, so their duels are never deadly and always lively, and there are no poets are actually harmed during their performances, and you can find them on YouTube. So, gentlemen, come on down here. We've got Mike and Steve. Come on down and join us for this Dueling Poets. Yes, please. Come on down.
We're the Dueling Poets, and we're back.
In an earlier episode of Dueling Poets, In an earlier episode of Dueling Poets, I was shot, like Hamilton. Fortunately for me, it was only a flesh wound. So I've returned, and I'm getting a second chance because last time Steve cheated and fired early.
It wasn't really cheating. It was just bad timing. Bad timing. Timing was never kind to us. We won a couple of battles, but the end result was sealed like duct tape on fate. We didn't handle ourselves well, fell into traps like a body falling in a dream. You don't touch the bottom, but you can't stop the falling. We made too many mistakes, no eraser to change answers, no new words to send old ones to the recycle bin. I don't know what timing had against us. I guess it didn't need a reason. Maybe we don't either. Hurry up, you're throwing off our timing.
Come on, I got an old dueling wound. You have to be patient. Pardon me, but I'm in pain. Feel pins and needles in my brain. I'll need a moment to explain, so please don't treat me with disdain. Pardon me, but I'm in pain. You may feel too well to relate to one who's in a hurtful state and whose discomfort slows his rate. Your patience fails or comes too late. Empathy is not innate. It hasn't touched you yet. But wait. Right now, it's none of your concern. However, you are bound to learn each creature gets its rightful turn. In time, the straightest road will curve. You'll find distress and lose your nerve. You too will get what you deserve, like me, and I'm in pain. Well, pardon me, but I'm in pain. Feel pins and needles in my brain and may be driving you insane listening to me complain. But until my torments wane, you'll have to bear with this refrain. Pardon me, but I'm in pain. Oh, pardon me, but I'm in pain. Yeah, pardon me, but I'm in pain. There, now I feel better. Thanks for listening.
You call that pain? Try dealing with a bureaucrat at an unemployment hearing. You certainly couldn't be accused of being overkind or being kind at all. I don't know if you made the decision or just conducted the interview. However, it was obvious you already had an opinion slamming your mallet of power. I felt like asking if you knew what being human was like, but the question would not have fazed you. You didn't give a damn. Your stoic face is etched in my memory. I can't forgive you for that. You didn't have to pickpocket my dignity. You stole it right in front of me. And if I believed in prayer, I would have prayed this would happen to you.
That bureaucrat was just going by the rules. Is this one work? Oh, okay. Hello. There had to be rules. For the record, you're not supposed to violate the rules, but off the record, you can't obey the rules exactly either. That That is the main unwritten rule. Unwritten rules. Unwritten rules always take precedence over written rules. Written rules are made up and put on to provide a semblance of order or to discourage litigation or as a political compromise. Written rules are the cosmetics of law. They are written for appearances, and appearances are deceiving. For instance, that sign you see in restaurant restrooms that reads, "Employees must wash hands before returning to work." Well, if you think that sign is a message to the employees, you just don't get what written rules are all about. There were rules even in the Old West. Does anybody remember the old TV series Gunsmoke? Thank you. Okay, so you remember who was in charge of enforcing those rules in Gunsmoke in Dodge City? Marshall Dillon, that's right, and his trusty deputy, Festus was the deputy. Chester was just some guy who got shot like me. He would limp around. And they were there to provide service to the upstanding citizens, like the one who ran the saloon, who was Miss Kitty. All right, they're all set up for you, Steve. Okay. Steve's going to tell you the rest of the story, but he's going to need his hat.
Thanks, Mike. Gunsmoke. For 20 years, Matt Dillon never kissed Miss Kitty. Thus, we assume he never did anything else. What was the problem? Was he afraid to take off his gun belt? Did he secretly have a thing for Festus? It could be the marshal was confused how to get all those damn garments off Miss Kitty. Or did Kitty want him to keep his hat on and he refused? What about Miss Kitty? Was she frigid? Or was Matt quicker than his gun draw? Maybe he was tired from all those freebies for protecting the saloon.
All right, well, maybe the problem was a matter of timing. He told us all about that. But in a deleted scene from Gunsmoke, there was a tender moment between Matt Dillon and Miss Kitty. And after a strategically placed commercial break, Matt Dillon said to Miss Kitty, "What we both wanted was sex and chocolate. What you said was, how about some chocolate? What I didn't say but only thought was, you got it backwards. Sex first. But what I said was, okay, let's have some chocolate." We shared the chocolate, and now, in the sweet afterglow of that confection, you mumble something about sex. But somewhere in the depths of your delicious brown eyes, I see what a tough act chocolate is to follow. Melting, all that I can say is, how about another chocolate? Thank you. That's what happens, but that's what can happen. Miss Kitty really liked her sweets. But Matt Dillon was just another guy who liked playing with his gun. But what did Miss Kitty expect? After all, you know, there are only 3 types of people in the world: girls and women and boys. Problem is, a lot of women don't understand this. They keep expecting a man to come along. Sorry, ladies, he isn't. He just isn't. So don't blame the boys for being boys. That's all they have ever been and all they will ever be. Boys will be boys. Let me say it again. Boys will be boys. They will never be men. There are just 3 types of people in the world. Look around, you'll see, just 3. That's all there have ever been and all there will ever be.
I was actually a little boy when Gunsmoke was on TV. Top of the stairs. Crouched in shaded light of the staircase, the sounds of secrets come drifting up like quiet footsteps. When sent to bed, I knew something was happening. Adults using words I couldn't understand. Sometimes I got tired, bored, fearful of getting caught, that had me running for the safety of sheets. The fear of punishment gives ways to adventure and shadows and squeaky floors. Little Boy Voyager, a child's drama unfolding in the mysterious moonlight.
Memories of a little boy's first-time experiences. I remember the first time I watched intently from behind him my father's face in the mirror as he shaved. I guess he felt my fascinated razor-envy gaze. "You'll be doing this someday," his reflection brightly promised me. I remember the first time I shaved, brightly recalling his promise now come true. The memory stayed sweet a long while. Then I remember the first time I watched intently from behind him my father's face in the mirror as he trimmed the hairs that sprouted from his ears. His reflection cast me a rueful expression and went on clipping, making me no promises. It is the unsweet memory that persists and intrudes as if it is watching intently from behind me as I look into the mirror and notice for the first time my father's hairs sprouting from my ears. Oh, and that hair is still there, but whatever happened to the other hair? What happened to my other hair, Steve?
Lost and found, or simply lost. Sometimes I wonder where you are, how many ghosts of me you may have encountered, but I suppose curiosity isn't enough for either of us. Our youth is lost, locked away in old luggage, unabashedly passed through airport scanners, left circling aimlessly at baggage claim. Perhaps some dreams still exist, living and breathing under a watchful eye of a caretaker in a cold, dark castle, hidden, surrounded by tall weeds, awaiting our return.
Can't afford to wait too long. Ever think about this? Today may just be the best day of the rest of your life. Something may happen, some small, awful thing. So by tomorrow at this time, your world could be a much more miserable place to live and die. This may happen. This will happen to a lot of people. People you don't know, people you don't care a thing about, people like you. By this time tomorrow, many of them, many of you, many of us may be looking back on the best day of the rest of our lives. Ever think about that? Have a nice day. But bad things happen, sometimes because of bad luck and sometimes because of bad ideas.
Bad idea. No one ever tried to think of a bad idea, yet they run rampant like a dog chasing a ball. A good idea can storm from a series of bad ones. You have to go over the cliff before you learn how to land. We seem as quick as a sneeze to act on a bad idea, but slow as a crawl from bed on a good one. I don't know. It seemed a good idea at the time, said the man who was on fire after he lit a cigarette in the back of the hay wagon.
The hay wagon should have had a no smoking sign. The trains have no smoking signs. The trains have all kinds of signs. One of my favorites is one that you may not have noticed. Keep feet off seats, reads the assonant commandment on a sign posted by the door of the railway car. Yet, though I'm not even tempted to place my feet on the seats, just as I do not covet my neighbor's homely wife, the sign makes me feel vaguely virtuous. My mind at peace, I sit listening to the clack, clack, clack of wheels on the track, watching the rush of ragged brush outside the window, and repeating, keep feet off seats, keep feet off seats, keep feet off seats. It becomes a mantra as the words dissolve into poetic sound and poetic nonsense. The rush of the brush, the clack, clack, clack of wheels on the track. Keep feet off seats, pure primal rhyme and rhythm, transporting the passive passenger beyond any destination to an eternity of sound where keep feet off seats is the sole commandment and there is no sin. The only sin is that poets don't get their due. Where are all the poetry groupies? There ought to be poetry groupies.
They're backstage. Groupies. Professional athletes are accustomed to having beautiful women. As young jocks in high school, they get all the best-looking girls. This trend continues as they move up in the ranks. Joltin' Joe got Marilyn. Many bluesmen were known as ladies' men. Sure, they sang about the ladies leaving them, but it was usually because they had a new lover. It is even thought that blues legend Robert Johnson may have been killed by a jealous boyfriend or poisoned by a jilted lover. Hollywood actors got the bombshells, the blonde and busty, the tall and lean with bikini bodies, the exotic and the desirable. Rock stars are notorious for sexual escapades, young women, wild women, 2 and 3 at a time. Poets get applause.
You may think that shameful appeal for applause was the end of our act, but it's not. We still have a score to settle. Back to back. Count to three, turn, and fire. One, two.
Bang! He's not dead. He just wants some sympathy. Sympathy. I put out the garbage and think of you. Then I feel bad for the garbage. I heave the bag into the dumpster. A cult of flies ascend from bottom stench. I think of you again. Now I feel bad for the flies.
The poet's dead body was discovered